This is my 1999 Honda Civic hatchback, and you didn't ask for it, but I'm going to give it to you anyway. Today we're doing a full budget breakdown and walkthrough of all the mods I've done. I'm Jack. Welcome to the junkyard, baby.
What? We're flying to Philadelphia! Hell no!
Hello everybody and welcome back to our channel. For those of you who have watched any of my previous videos, you would have seen our EK Civic and my slow attempt to build it. So I figured it's probably about time that I give everyone a quick rundown of the mods and costs associated thus far. To give a quick background of the car, we need to go back to 2020. I originally bought this car with my brother and I paid a whopping 500 bucks on my side of the deal. I had no real plans for this car but to learn to drive manual. That's where everything went wrong. I quickly broke the car. Oh no! Within the first week or so of ownership, and I managed to snap a CV axle inside the gearbox. And I proceeded to let the car sit for quite some time, which leads us to 2022.
Why now?
The beginning of the junkyard garage and the beginning of my bad spending habits. The first thing that I bought to start modding this Civic was, of course, another Honda Civic.
Yeah, boy!
Which I paid a whopping 750 bucks for. And in return, I got rear disc brake upgrade, a new gearbox, new cluster, and a bunch of spare parts. This brings our total to $1,250 so far. Now, I'm not going to include any of the minor bits and bobs from 2023 as I didn't really mod much in that time, but just mainly did basic maintenance. And with that said, we can fast forward to 2024, which is where we can get into the good stuff.
Oh yeah! Vector!
Now, it was around about 5 months ago where I saw a listing pop up on Facebook Marketplace for a full B-Swap package. And considering I actually had some money saved up at the time, I decided to pull the trigger and buy it. So for a total of $6,500, I was given a B16A2 with all the accessories, or known as a long block, a 5-speed non-LSD manual transmission, CV shafts, an engine loom, a new radiator plus hoses, a full aircon system with AC lines, power steering lines, shift linkages, and it also came with stock headers and an intake. Now, whether or not this is seen as a good deal is sort of up to your own opinion, but piecing these things together can get pretty expensive, so I figured, hey, I'm happy paying a little bit more in the name of convenience. So far we have spent $500 on the car, $750 for a few things, and now $6.5 grand for our B-Swap package. This brings our total up to $7,750 for a bone stock Civic with a B series, which is not too bad considering the local market is asking around 10 to 12K for something similar. Now that we have our engine, we can finally move on to our suspension. Now, I want to be very clear. Obviously, your cost can vary greatly considering the number of options out there and different price ranges for suspension parts. Now, also, you don't have to buy what I specifically bought. This is just what I decided to go with for my build. To start with, we're going to look at our coilovers, or our main sort of component for our suspension. I went with some BC Racing coilovers. More specifically, I went with the BR Type RA series coilover, which set me back about $1,550 bucks. I'd like it noted, I actually meant to buy the BR Type RS series with rubber top mounts instead of pillow ball mounts, and by the time I realized my mistake, it was sort of a bit too late. Now, the world of coilovers is wide and vast. Every man and his dog has an entirely snobby opinion, but BC coilovers, at least, they have a pretty good reputation amongst our Honda community, or at least in the one around me, and looking at the price, you can't really beat them. Moving along, we can head to the Hard Race catalog, where we can essentially see the rest of my suspension build. Now, don't judge me for it. They're good quality and they are well priced compared to other brands out there. Starting off, we have our camber adjustable upper control arms, which we paid a total of $437. From factory, the Civic didn't come with camber adjustment at all, so a set of these arms is almost essential to your build to help dial in your wheel and tire setup depending on sort of the stance or use you want to go with. Moving on to the rear side of our car, we can look at our setup. We have some more Hard Race goodies, surprise, surprise. The lower control arms we paid a total of $240 for, and our subframe brace and sway bar kit we paid $720 for. Now, once again, there are many different kits out there and many different price points. The Hard Race kit comes with a 25.4mm sway bar, which is pretty beefy. And it pretty much all plays down to personal preference on how you want the car to act. A sway bar kit is another must-have in your build, especially if you're like me. This is the base model. It didn't come with any sway bars from factory. Installing one to your build will dramatically improve your steering and help decrease the amount of body roll going through corners. Now, adding the costs of the coilovers, control arms, and sway bar kit, our total stands at $10,696. So we have a engine swap and a 90% complete suspension build. What comes next? Well, in my case, we need to be able to make use of all of that new and improved handling by buying a good wheel and tire setup. Now, wheel and tires are probably one of the first things you should do when buying and modding a car, rather than an engine swap like I did, so don't follow my lead. Obviously, there's a whole deal between rep and real wheels. The main differences you want to be looking out for is sort of the materials and manufacturing process. Forged wheels are going to be a lot stronger than a cast wheel. Rep companies usually go for casts as they're cheap and easy to make, but you'll end up with a worse overall quality. Now, my wheels, they are flow formed. Now, flow form wheels are definitely an improvement over cast. However, these wheels, the face of them are still cast, which means they're still prone to failure and cracking. But considering I'm not hitting the track every single weekend, I'm not too concerned about it. Now, I'm not overly concerned about spending money on real wheels. So what I went with was a Koenig Hypergram in a 15x7 half plus 30. Now, the main reason I went for these was for the size. I wasn't too keen on buying a 15x8 as I wasn't really sure of the possible mods I'd need to make them fit correctly, and I wasn't able to find a good looking wheel sort of within my price range for that size either. These wheels only set me back $1,100, which is considerably cheap in the wheel world. Such a bad, why did I say that? Wheel world? So after settling on some wheels, I now need some tires, which is an area you must not skimp out on. I mean, the only thing keeping you stuck from the ground, so you best get some good ones. I went with some Falken Zenith, I think that's how you say it, RT615K Plus in a 205 50 R15. I wanted a decently sporty tire setup for some good grip without breaking my bank account. Surprisingly, there's not a whole lot of choice out there in terms of tires in this specific sizing. Other sport-oriented tires were going for around the $300 to $350 mark per tire. I definitely could have gone for a slightly smaller tire setup to help open up a few different options, but I was pretty set on getting a nice meaty tire setup. After our wheels and tires, our total is now at $12,756. Next to add on to our list is our big brake upgrade. As this is a CXI model, it came with slightly smaller front brakes. The GLI models and upwards, and even including the Integras from the same generation, all shared the same bigger brake setup. So I managed to find a pair for $450 off Facebook to help add some much needed stopping power. Plus, the red paint adds like 15 extra horsepower. Last but not least, we can head to our interior. And if you've watched some of my latest videos, you would have seen the carpet and headliner install. I spent $270 for the carpet and around $70-ish on various paint supplies. The Type R steering wheel set me back $450. The spoon shift knob I bought in Japan for $50. And finally, we have our massive touchscreen head unit. This fella was quite pricey, but 100% worth it. I paid roughly $600 total for the screen, fascia, and wiring. Of course, these interior mods are not 100% necessary, but they do significantly improve the quality of life and make the driving experience so much more enjoyable. Adding these items to our total cost, we now sit at $14,596. Now, this is sort of a rough estimate of what I spent. We could easily add a few $100 either side of that. For the few miscellaneous or so things that I've bought over the years. So for about $14.5K, you can get yourself a B-Swap Civic with wheels, tires, fully built suspension, and some really, really bad paint. Hopefully we'll fix that soon. So that is gonna do us, ladies and gentlemen, for today. I wanna thank you very much for watching all the way to the end. Remember, if we hit 1,000 subs before the end of the year, I will drive a car into a brick wall. So you better like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Peace. Let's go. We filmed it. Let's go.